What's up, everybody? Hey, Tom Laird here, host of the Advice from a Call Center Geek podcast and founder of Expivia. For exceptional contact center outsourcing, trust Expivia. We're fully AI-driven, as all of you know, and can handle voice, email, chat, and all of your digital channels. Our 600-seat USA contact center is expert in healthcare, financial services, insurance, tech support, retail, and more. Experts on the NICE CX1 platform, we ensure seamless customer experiences. DM me or visit expiviausa.com for more.
This is Advice from a Call Center Geek, a weekly podcast with a focus on all things call center. We'll cover it all from call center operations, hiring, culture, technology, and education. We're here to give you actionable items to improve the quality of yours and your customers' experience. This is an evolving industry with creative minds and ambitious people like this guy. Not only is his passion call center operations, but he's our host. He's the CEO of Expivia Interaction Marketing Group and the Call Center Geek himself, Tom Laird.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Advice from a Call Center Geek, the call center and contact center podcast. We try to give you some actionable items, take back in your contact center, improve the overall quality, improve your agent experience, hopefully improve the customer experience as well. How is everybody doing? My name is Tom Laird. For those of you by now who don't know me, I am the CEO here at Expivia Interaction Marketing. Expivia is a 500, 600 seat call center outsourcer located here in, it's spring. It's nice. It's like 70 out, Erie, Pennsylvania. It's kind of nice to get through the doldrums of that February kind of ending here in March. Getting to April. I'm a big golf guy. Masters is coming. Pretty fired up. That's kind of the official kickoff of nice weather for me. Hey, I have an interesting show for you guys today that I'm hoping can help on multiple fronts. One, I want to talk about progressive discipline with associates and improvement plans and what happens when you put someone on probation or whatever term you have in your contact center. And some tips that I think can help you develop a program. This isn't a cookie cutter, hey, this is what you should do, but it's really you should listen to a bunch of people and hopefully I can be a voice with that too, to give you, some of the things that we do, and then you can kind of make a decision if that's going to fit or help in your culture and your organization. I want to start with something, though, pretty weird. And I think it's something that everybody here needs to start to learn about. And hopefully, if this is the first time you're hearing about it, you can maybe go on YouTube and kind of go down the rabbit hole and learn more about it. But I want to just real briefly introduce you, if you've not heard it, to the term of NFT, which stands for non-fungible token. And again, trust me on this, I'm going to tie it into the contact center in a weird way before I get into this. But I think it's important because it's a technology that's really starting to come on. And it's going to have a lot of future implications on how we do business and how we purchase things and how we buy and sell different types of items. And even the types of items that we can now start to buy and sell through an NFT process is evolving. So basically, it's kind of confusing. So let me try to make this as easy as possible. It's basically the ability, currently to buy and sell digital assets. And when I mean digital assets, like digital artwork, right? So you make something in Photoshop and having the ability through blockchain, which basically locks it down so that only one person can own that. And there is a record of who owns it, what it was sold for, what it was bought for. So it's not just like having a piece of a JPEG or a PNG that gets passed around. It actually has an ownership that goes along with it, and with that has some value. My kids, and I know a lot of your kids out there play Roblox, right? And if you don't have kids, but Roblox is basically it's a digital game where you're kind of in this own fantasy world and you have a person and you walk around and you can buy buildings and you can buy houses and you can decorate and you kind of live your own, second life kind of thing. And in that you can buy Robux and you could buy a hat for your character. You could buy a shirt for your character, and that just stays in the game. Well, I think that, Roblox going public, I think one of the things that's going to happen is, they're going to look at blockchain and look at starting to sell NFTs within the game. So basically that would mean that there's one hat, right? That's maybe $100 that your character can buy. And that character then can go sell it on a secondary market to have for somebody else to have that hat. And there's only one of those hats. So it's interesting, right? And you got to kind of wrap your head around it. One of the really cool things that I've gotten into is there's a website called NBA Top Shot. And basically they're selling, right, highlights of NBA games. So think of a old school baseball card, right? You used to have baseball cards and you used to collect baseball cards and then you trade them and then you could sell them. Well, now they're doing the same exact thing through blockchain with NBA highlights. So pretty cool. So one of the things, in some of these like LeBron James, are going for $200,000, $500,000. There was a digital house yesterday that was sold for $500,000. Now, there's going to be a lot of other blockchain implications to this. We know when it comes to financial services and I think how the call center operates. But one of the things that I wanted to try to do, because I think it's just going to be fun, is there's a website called OpenSea, SEA, and it's a place to sell NFTs. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a drawing in my terrible, honestly, I'm being totally open here. It's more for the rarity of it than maybe the actual beauty of it. But we're going to create NFT drawings. That's basically going to be me on a Rocketbook, and I'm going to create a drawing for every podcast that we've done. Right now, I have 3 that are up there on OpenSea, and they're going to be all Series 1. And there's going to be 10 of them in Series 1, right? And there's only going to be one of them, and we're not going to sell them after that. There's just one, and then you own it, and then you can buy it, and you can sell it. And I think that the community here is getting to a point where, I think that there could be a little bit of activity with that. So I'm kind of excited with that. It's just another, I guess, way to own a piece of your favorite episode. If there's something that really sparked something with you, something that you can maybe hang in your office or you can have. And then when you get bored with it, the cool thing is you don't have to keep it. You can sell it and hopefully you can make some money off it as well, especially, these Series 1. Okay. Again, I'm not here to pub my artwork, but I just wanted to see, and I think it's a good way for, at least even if you don't buy anything, go on that site, look around, and maybe have your mind blown with some of the things that are being sold on there, because it's a whole different world. But again, NFT, Google it, YouTube it, go down the rabbit hole with it, learn about Ethereum, learn about Bitcoin. These things are not going away. In fact, they're growing, and I want you to get on the train now. All right, so getting off my NFT soapbox, let's talk about the call center stuff that you guys really came here for. And today we want to talk about performance plans and progressive discipline, and how do we deal with an associate that just, is not up to snuff, and how do we try to get them back on track? So I have so many things on this that sometimes it's hard for me to kind of narrow it down. But I want to start with a couple of things that I think will help the most. Number one is you need to have what I believe is we call it a progressive discipline policy. And basically what you want to do is snuff out and talk through, all of the different, carrots or sticks that could happen when something happens in your contact center. So for example, what happens if a associate calls off 3 days in a row? Do they need a doctor's excuse? Do they need some type of permission to come back? What happens if somebody swears on the floor? Or what happens if somebody just leaves early from their shift and doesn't tell anybody? So all of these things that are normal call center things need to be scoped out. Then you need to decide how associates are going to be held accountable for them, right? So if that is a 3-day suspension, if that's a 1-day suspension, if that is, losing privileges or, whatever that is in your call center. I am a big carrot guy more than a stick person. I'm going to try to do everything I possibly can to not get to this point, but there are certain times, right? And especially if it's attendance driven, if it's quality driven, if somebody says something on the phone that they shouldn't have, if they're not giving effort, right? That, you can try to rah-rah them all they want, but at a certain point when the rubber meets the road, we got to make a decision on how we get this person back. So the cool thing we have is a real scoped out policy. So all the reps know, right? So if you have a QA score that is under this, kind of this is what our coaching is going to be. But if it continues, this is what we're going to do. If you call off, 3 days in a row, they understand this is what's going to happen. If you just walk off your shift, right? Or if you just log out from home early, this is what's going to happen. That's all talked about in training. There's a manual for it, right? From our policy book that they all have. They all know it, right? So the worst thing that you can have is have your HR or your supervisor or your manager be subjective with people, right? That poses so many cultural issues. So you don't want, Susie, who's the call center manager, who has a favorite, who plays, favoritism and plays games with a couple associates that she really likes and comes down really hard on others, right? So you got to take all that out, right? So I think, having a policy, a progressive discipline policy, actually helps, the culture of the organization, because everybody kind of knows what's expected, what's not. And if something does happen, this is kind of the next steps that are going to take, and there's no surprises and there's no favoritism. All right. So that's kind of the worst case scenario. And I want to get into a full, plan here of what if somebody goes on a probationary, period, or if we call it probation. I think it's a terrible term. I just haven't, I'm open to other terms. But, to start, when an employee comes to Expivia and they go through training and they start on the phones, we do HR meetings with them at the 30-day period, the 60-day period, the 90-day period. Right. And so on their 30-day anniversary, their 60 and their 90, we just talk to them with one of our HR people. And we don't talk much about KPIs. All we're talking about is our two cultural things, which is attitude and effort. Right. So again, we're trying to just totally instill our culture into these guys and understand like really what's expected of them. But these conversations are more, hey, how's it going? How's the program? How's your family? Is everything good at home? With the work from home, is your computer okay? Does your headset hurt? Little things like that I think, show that we care, and leave it open-ended so that if there is an issue, it's going to come out instead of us being specific and asking for something that maybe isn't an issue, and we miss something. So I think, those are really important. Now, remember, we've done multiple podcasts on our agent analysis program. If you do not know what the agent analysis program is, you got to go back and you got to check it out. And our agent analysis is basically a 15-minute meeting that we have, each supervisor has with each rep, that talks about things that deal with attitude and effort, gets more into the KPI standpoint, also then starts to talk about advancement and give them a roadmap and a plan for moving up in the company. Right. So by having our new hires have a 30, 60, 90-day meeting with our HR staff, that's more on a friendly tone, having every single week, by this time of their 90-day, they should have had roughly 12 agent analysis meetings. They should have a really good feel with what is expected of them. And this is on top of every single day. We're having a meeting with the team, and then we're doing individual IMs with the supervisor in each rep just to talk about KPIs for the previous day, giving goals, right? So there should be no surprises here. And again, in the COVID period that we're in, over communication is really, really, really important, especially when it's work from home and maybe you're training at home and they don't get your culture, right? So you got to do everything you possibly can to have as much contact points to get your culture through to them so that they really understand, what's happening. Now, if we do have an associate that has, issues with their QA, with their quality, with their attitude, with their effort, they're not showing up to work, we will put them on a probation period. We like to have our first probation. If you really only get 2 chances on a probation period. One is a 30-day probation period. The second day is a 60-day, right? And the third day is normally it's termination if we get to that point, right? Unless there's some crazy circumstances that we need to look through. But basically, we just get more intense with everything that we're doing, right? So HR is going to meet with you now once a week. You guys know about our attendance streak, our attendance multiplier, because so many of you have asked about that. Again, if you don't know about that, go back and check that episode out. I mean, that's raised our attendance 25 to 30%. And basically it allows reps to make more money by just showing up to work, right, over a 9-week period. So their streak goes away, right? So that's kind of the biggest stick, right, that we have. We make sure that if they complete the 30 days, they go back to where they were, right, in their streak. So most of the time, if you're on probation, your streak's not very long, right? Which makes sense because your attendance probably isn't great. But sometimes it's a QA issue, right? And what we're looking for, and the question that I always ask when HR comes to me and says, hey, we're going to put, Susie Smith, poor Susie, she gets beat up a lot, poor Susie on probation, is, they know I'm going to ask, hey, is there a work problem or is there a work ethic problem, right? And if we have a work ethic problem, that's a bigger issue and something that we need to really go through. If it's a work problem, if we don't understand something, if we're just not doing something properly, then that's a different type of probation. That's going to be higher on the training aspect. If we have just an attitude, effort, work ethic issue, we're going to give that 30-day, 30-day chance, right? Where we're going to continue to meet, really talk about your attendance. We're not going to really, unless there's a huge issue, we really need that associate to be here. I will tell you most of the time when the answer is we have a work ethic problem, after that 30-day or during that 30-day probationary period, most of the time that associate does leave the organization or we ask them to leave. So we try to, again, culture of attitude and effort, right? When we have a work ethic problem, that really poses an issue. So, but basically for our plan, it's meeting with HR once a week. Our agent analysis program continues. We try to sit them with a higher producing rep. We also have a buddy program with our higher team leads, right? That even if we're doing a work from home, we have them talk to them a little bit, make sure that if they have any issues, maybe they don't want to go to the supervisor with, we schedule some time to make sure that there's a kind of the buddy system is in play to try to get them to kind of see the light that, you can do this, other people are doing it, and let me try to help you. Again, we do take away a lot of some of the benefits, but we try to give them back and tell them, hey, you're not going to have to, again, if you're streaking at 9 weeks, right, for your attendance multiplier, and you're on probation, it started at week 5. Now you are going to go back to week 0, right? But if you pass through and we graduate you in our 30 days, you're going to go back to where you started. So to try to give them a little bit of something to work for. We also give them extra personal days, if they complete the plan, to try to, again, do more with the carrot than the stick, but understanding that, there's still KPIs, there's still a standard here that needs to be met, and we need to make sure that we're hitting that. So again, I think the main thing is try to head all this stuff off at the beginning. I know that's easier said than done, but do your work up front. If you do your work up front, then you don't have to go through the pain of putting somebody on probation, putting them through a plan, giving them, goals that are set and trying to put them more in stone, right? That you got to kind of hit these goals, because it just causes more frustration than if you can really talk to the person ahead of time. Make sure your HR is really involved. Make sure your supervisor are really involved every single day. Don't let people just kind of go on their own, right? And aren't being talked to, aren't being kind of touched from that HR supervisor standpoint that needs to happen every single day, especially with the work from home. So again, I hope that helps at least get you thinking of some of the things that you may need to do in your center from a performance plan issue. Again, I didn't try to get specific into exactly what we do because it's going to be different for everybody. But hey, if you want my plan, I'm more than happy to send it to you. Just shoot me an email or DM me on LinkedIn. And also, guys, hey, check out OpenSea. It's Call Center Geek Art. I think that's what it's called, Call Center Geek Art. And I'll be posting some things up there and see if there's anything you like. But again, thanks, guys, so much. And I will talk to all you guys next week.